guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new legal advice content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first one is titled, Landlord Banning Guns Mid-Lease. Iowa. I live in an apartment complex, and I have a particular dumbass neighbor who got drunk and shot a hole in his wall earlier this week. I received an email this morning from my property management saying that, due to the incident, effective this coming Monday they were banning all possession of firearms within the building, and that anyone who owned guns had to have them out by then. They also said they'd start entering units to check by Wednesday. I have 4 guns that I have literally nowhere else to store. I have a lease that goes from August 2016 to July 2017 that makes no mention of gun ownership one way or another, and I've lurked here enough to know that landlords generally can't make mid-lease changes unilaterally like this, but I wanted to make sure that there aren't any exceptions for that when it comes to firearms. The lease doesn't mention anything about their ability to make changes either, or I specifically asked about their gun policy when I signed to make sure it was okay. I'm also curious about the extent to which they can search my apartment, if they actually go through with checking. I keep my safe inside a drawer in my desk. Are they allowed to root through my desk/stuff even if they give notice? I would appreciate any help or advice, thanks. Update. I got an email on Monday morning saying that they weren't going to go through with the gun ban. As far as I can tell, they didn't enter mine or anyone else's apartment to check for guns, though I did take your guys' suggestion and clean up all my gun stuff and hide it away, which really needed to happen anyway, because it was a mess. I did learn an interesting piece of gossip though. It turns out I have a friend of a friend who works in my property manager's office. From what she told me, apparently their lawyer wasn't consulted about this at all, but he was CC'd on the email sent out to residents. She wouldn't give me any specific information, but apparently the ensuing storm of emails and conference calls was something to behold, and the manager responsible is in serious crap. The next one is titled, Carvana sold me a car with an engine that didn't belong in it. I'll try to keep this semi-short. 3 months ago, I bought a car from Carvana, took out a $16,000 loan to do it. Used with barely any miles. Carvana guarantees no cars they sell have been in accidents, have all been inspected and gives me a copy of the report, including a paper that says no work has been done. A 100-day guarantee warranty as well. A week ago, my car breaks down. After taking it to Carvana I'm told it needs to be worked on at the car dealership. Well, come to find out my car does not have the original engine or the right engine for my model of car. Not only that, but after tracing the VIN it's found out my car has been in an accident before I got it. The mechanic literally said to me, if this car has been inspected at all you could see it did not have the original bumper or at least it had been worked on. Carvana refuses any responsibility, claims that I'm technically under warranty but since it was almost up, I could have done that to the car myself in those 90 days. I have no car now, no way to get to work and I am making payments still. I've contacted a lawyer but I'm wondering is there any chance they can get away with this? Update. Thank you everyone for your advice, they just called me and basically said, oh yeah this is bad we need to get you a new car and offered me a car of equal value. Definitely going to have it inspected as soon as possible, from an outside inspector. This was after a week of them telling me good luck so sad so needless to say I'm relieved. The next one is titled, Can a new property manager enforce rules not given in original lease agreement because it's a condominium? I live in South Carolina. I rent a condominium. Well, it's called a condo, but I don't know of a single person who actually owns here. It's all people who rent from the same property management company. We recently had a change in the on-site property manager, company remains the same. She is imposing new rules not written into the lease. The rule I'm dealing with right now is what can be on a balcony. I received a notice today that my balcony is in violation of the rules. No furniture not designed for outside use, no more than 2 bikes, no boxes, no coolers, etc. Since the violation notice didn't indicate which portion I was in violation of, I called to ask so I could correct it. The property manager said I could not have a hammock stand on my balcony. The violation warning states, the only furniture allowed on your balcony is furniture that was designed for outdoor use. Please remove the prohibited items from your balcony and keep your balcony clean and clear of these items. I feel pretty strongly that a hammock is specifically designed for outdoor use. When I mentioned that, she said hammocks are for yards, not balconies. Can she do this? She said she can because it's a condominium. She said the condominium rules and regulations state exactly what can be on a balcony. But A, I was not provided a copy of this or informed of its existence when I signed my lease. B, no such rules and regulations about private areas are mentioned in the lease. And C, she said she will get me a copy, but not until after the date specified to correct the violation. So, I'd have to disassemble and reassemble if I can provide evidence that it's within the rules. The only mention of rules and regulations in the lease refers to communal spaces and states. The common area facilities, if any, such as swimming pool, laundry room, recreational, and other common area facilities, when open and operating, are subject to applicable rules and regulations posted by the landlord. The tenant agrees to observe faithfully all rules and regulations that the landlord now or may hereafter adopt for the use of the premises. Since the above states it's for common area facilities, does the last sentence really imply that she can impose whatever rules she wants to areas that are not part of the common area facilities? I just can't fathom how a property manager can justify that a hammock is not permissible because it's for a yard, not a patio. I like to use my hammock. I use it often. I don't want to take it down. How should I best handle this? I'm thinking about writing the property management company. Update. New property manager said I had to remove my hammock from my balcony because it was for yards, not balconies, and she could enforce whatever rules she wanted because it's a condo, not an apartment. Turns out the wording of the rules says she has the final say in any questionable items. I contacted the parent company and requested a copy of the rules and regulations. Even if it wouldn't help me in this case, I would like to know whatever rules I am expected to abide by. Especially since they aren't provided at move-in, not to mention, no one mentioned they existed. I have them now, and it supports that she can enforce whatever rules she wishes. Luckily, this is a happy post. I emailed the property owner and indicated that while I understood nothing would change, I wanted to voice my displeasure with the situation and how the violation was handled. I'm a good tenant. No noise complaints, never leave trash outside my unit, rent always paid on time, etc. I got a call from my property manager yesterday asking if I wanted to move to a unit facing the woods. I said no, I didn't want to move mid-lease but would be moving when my lease was up. Got a call this morning that she had slept on it and decided she didn't want to lose a good tenant. She'll be rewriting the rules to be more clear about what is and is not allowed, but my hammock is grandfathered in. I'll be putting it back up tomorrow. Thanks again for all the advice. The next one is titled, Inherited a Friend's Property, but Don't Know What the Property Is or Where. Louisiana. My boyfriend inherited everything from a close friend of his who passed away a few months ago. This friend was in his 60s, but we're in our 20s, so we're not too familiar with this stuff. The thing is, the friend had no will, as far as we know. Before he died, he verbally told my boyfriend he wanted him to have everything, and his family, 2 brothers, agreed after he died. My boyfriend has medical and financial power of attorney, so we have that in writing, but nothing indicating him as the heir, I think. That allowed us to pick up his ashes from the hospital and what he had in his pockets when he went in, his wallet, phone. The thing is, now that he's passed away, we don't know what property he had that is now supposedly my boyfriend's. It's super stupid to not have dealt with this before, and in fact I was trying to convince myself to do it while he was in and out of the hospital, but of course now it's too late. We know he has a storage unit in NYC and we're trying to track that down. That storage unit costs $200 per month, though, and that apparently wasn't being paid through his debit card, which we were able to check the transactions on. So, he has another bank account somewhere? I don't know. I just think a man in his 60s probably had more to his name than a single checking account and a storage locker. So, my question is, how we find a deceased friend's bank accounts, assets, etc. if we don't know hardly anything about them? We don't know what banks he used, for example. We also aren't listed as heirs on paper, so I don't know if the bank would even tell us. Plus, is there a way to just check if somebody had a will? We don't know what lawyer he used, if he had one. Update. Basically, my boyfriend and I were living with an older guy who ended up passing away last year. My boyfriend had power of attorney, and the friend who died told him he could have all his possessions. Unfortunately, that was just a verbal agreement, so there was no will, and we didn't even know what all his possessions were, or where. He died in Louisiana, but we knew he had a storage unit in NYC. Here's what happened in the end. I happened to be in New York a couple months after he died, so I looked up storage units in Manhattan and started calling around until I found one with an account under his name. I showed up at the facility with a key we had found in his bedroom, but we weren't sure if it was the right key or not. They wouldn't let me past the front desk, though, without paying the overdue balance on the storage unit, which was like $500. I tried to talk through it with them, like if they could even just let me see if the key works, but they wouldn't budge. They said we could get a judicial order to open it, but we would need a death certificate and something else. Sorry, I can't remember what it was now, but we live in Louisiana and basically weren't willing to try deal with court hearings in New York. So that was that. We gave it up for a while, until I got a call back from the storage unit like 2 months later. They said our friend's stuff was going to auction, and even gave me a link to where we could see the auction online. There's basically like an eBay for buying people's stuff abandoned in storage units. So, then we got a friend in New York to buy the unit on auction, which would circumvent the whole key, overdue balance, court hearing thing, but unfortunately the auction went up to like $900 and she didn't have the money. Luckily, when they do those auctions, they make the buyers return photographs and personal papers, so we can still get those. I also tried a couple of the lost property searches that Redditors suggested in my original post, and I found something in New York, but I don't know what it is, and I don't think anyone is willing to deal with the process to get it. So that's it. I think the moral of the story is that if you don't have the money or the legal paperwork to get someone's stuff, you can at least get the personal papers and photos, which is nice. So, thank you, Redditors, and good luck to anyone facing something similar. The last one is titled, "Just found out that a warehouse is being built on land that I own. I was never told about it and didn't sell my land to anyone. I own property in North Carolina. It's a piece land on the outskirts of a town, small city that's slowly expanding. It used to be farmland, and there was an old house of little value. I live out of state and have not visited the place in 8 years. No one has been living in the house for the last 18 months. After all this time I just went to have a look at my property. I was in for quite a shock as I arrived where my house used to be. The house has been torn down, and there is a construction crew working all over my lot. They said they're building a warehouse and offices. There's a huge hole in the ground. As I was there were 2 excavators digging further into my land. A small hill that there was flattened. I couldn't believe it because I've not been told about my land being used for construction, ever. I haven't sold my land or the house. I've never been called by anyone seeking to buy it. As I was driving there, I noticed that the city has expanded and there are now buildings much closer to my land than ever before, but I had no idea that my own land was being used for development. This is so crazy. I can't believe I'm even typing this. I've paid the property tax on this lot every year. It's my name on the title. I'm livid. My land was taken from me without anyone telling me about it. I want to make the construction crew stop working on my property immediately. Then I want someone explain me how this could happen, and of course get appropriate compensation from whoever is responsible. Where do I start? How do I make them stop? I tried talking to the workers, but they wouldn't listen. Edit. I get it, I'm getting a lawyer. Edit 2. And now the GIS website says it's no longer under my name. This is so ducked up. I have no words. I've paid the taxes every year. How does this even happen? How do they send me taxes for property they don't think I own? Update. People ask, so here I am providing an update about what happened to me about a year ago, when a warehouse was under construction on land that I owned without me being aware. That's when I realized that the land was no longer under my name, but I had not sold it. It took about a whole year to my lawyer to understand what happened and find a solution that would best serve my interests. What happened can be described as a succession of screw-ups and negligence by various county services and people who had an interest in not looking too closely into the matter. It was a matter of incompetence and negligence rather than illegal actions, it seems, still very frustrating for me. I can't go into too much detail as it could be enough to identify in which county I am. The first problem was that the taxes I paid for that piece of land were applied to another parcel that a family member owns. As a result, the property tax on my parcel appeared delinquent. I was never made aware of this because the, apparently, only delinquent notice that was sent was addressed to my elderly uncle who used to live on the premises and had passed away a few months before. This is infuriating because the taxes were sent to me in Michigan, so they knew where to find me, but the delinquent notice was sent to a different address due to miscommunication between two services. The fact that my uncle and I have similar names, like I'm Michael John Doe and he was John Doe, likely added to the confusion. As a consequence of the unpaid taxes, my land was foreclosed and sold. The processes were expedited, and minimal effort was put into trying to reach me. There were other things that happened which were not really illegal, more like neglectful, but I won't describe them here on the advice of my lawyer. Apparently at some point some procedure wasn't completely respected and I could have had an argument to sue and win. My attorney told me to prepare for an uphill battle though, and one that would have been long and costly. In the meantime, my attorney communicated with the company that was having the buildings constructed. They decided to pause the construction to evaluate the situation. Then they restarted, then stopped again. Probably they were advised that we had grounds to sue, and the proceedings could last forever. There didn't appear to be any mistake or illegality from their side, but likely they didn't want to waste any time on that, so after negotiating with my attorney they made an offer that I accepted in exchange for me not to claim my land back. I might have gotten more from suing everyone, but I wasn't ready for years of legal battle. I'm bitter that land that belonged to my family for over a century was taken from me like that. However, in the end I was compensated fairly and rather easily, so I can't really complain. Thanks for listening.